One was on tenterhooks coming into this week with the expectation that maybe, just maybe, we get some sort of SEC decision about a spot Bitcoin ETF. We're not getting it this week, but your thoughts on when we do get it, if we do get it, and what that means for the asset class.
Listen, no one really knows factually, but when BlackRock and Invesco with us put our applications back in, that starts a 6-month clock. And my intuition is going to be closer to the end of that 6-month clock, which is probably 3 to 4 months from now. There is a judge's decision in the case that Grayscale has against the SEC on their ETF application, and people thought that might break this week. And if the judge rules in Grayscale's favor, the thought process is that there's going to be an acceleration from the SEC to approve the BlackRock and Invesco and other ETFs. And so that's where the excitement came from. We haven't gotten it. Rates are creeping higher, pressure on assets, and you're seeing stop losses.
Yeah, and we are seeing Bitcoin specifically under pressure today. Is that a direct correlation to the fact that you have Treasury yields, the 10-year testing October highs?
100%. Listen, we've come a long way this year in crypto and in Bitcoin. We had a lot of good things happen. A lot of good things get priced into the market. And one of the assumptions that risk assets keep making is that the Fed is going to finish hiking rates and then start cutting. And all of a sudden, with Japan hiking rates, their back end starts falling off. Our back end starts getting hit. And it's feeling like you're getting a washout of this bond market bubble. Maybe it's the start, maybe it's not. But that's got markets really scared. And I think you're going to see risk assets under pressure until you get some basing or bottoming of the bond market.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the cash app and by joining the Patreon.
And guys, we have Mike Novogratz, we know is a Goldman Sachs guy, so he's only going to give us some of the truth. But he does give us the truth on yield rates and Bitcoin pump. He stated that Bitcoin pumped off the Fed printing all that money. And guys, we know that's a fact. That's the reason why we always follow the Fed. And yield rates high. And I go over yield rates on a daily basis. I know a lot of you are sick of it. But guess what? It's time to get re-educated. I know finances is boring. But the bond market and yield rates don't lie. Remember, guys, numbers don't lie. Yes, you can manipulate them. But if you know what you're looking at, you can always catch them. And we know the yield curve has told us every time when the crash is coming. And we have Novogratz talks about Larry Fink and the spot Bitcoin ETF. But remember why Larry Fink is talking about ETFs and its tokenization. Remember, guys, the fourth industrial revolution is to go. That's the reason why Mike Novogratz is only going to give you half the truth. He's not going to tell you that the robots, algorithms, and drones are about to take this economy over while the sheep go inside the metaverse. And we had Bitcoin and crypto get a flash crash. And guys, the only thing we have to do is look at the stable coins and see where it came from. And then on top of it, guys, we know China is selling dollars and buying the yuan. And remember, guys, this is all part of the plan. So therefore, they can launch this digital yuan. Remember, the fourth industrial revolution rises in the East. The BRICS nations, the emerging markets led by China, the dragon, with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now, guys, we had 67% of homes bought by cash in the last quarter. And who do you think's doing the buying? That's right, guys, the big banks. They're going to own everything. And you're going to own nothing, but they stated you're supposed to still be happy. And guys, we have the next government movie starting up. Will the government shut down on election year? And if it does, guys, we know it has to be early in the first quarter because we always get a dump in the first quarter. And who did you learn that from? That's right, the crypto teacher. But don't forget, guys, blockchain replaces government. There's not going to be any reason for any politicians any longer. In 2028, you will be voting on blockchain. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Well, listen, we've had debt to GDP in our country go from 45 or 50% when I graduated from college to 130%, right? Right? The baby boomers have mortgaged our grandchildren's future. And it all felt normalized because it didn't cost us anything, right? We had this low 10-year rate, low 30-year rate. And so borrow, 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 right? Donald Trump came in and ran giant budget deficits before COVID, right? He increased government spending more than any president in history before COVID. Then COVID came, and out came the fire hoses. And Joe Biden came in, he said, well, it's my turn. Build back better, you know, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? Huge increases in spending. And so one of the reasons the economy's done so well is because we've given everyone tons of free money. But at one point, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. I remember my mother telling me that when I was 8. And maybe deficits become important, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. Like markets go years without them caring. But right now it feels like there's no buyer of long-end treasuries. There's no buyer of 10 years, of 30 years here in the UK and all of a sudden in Japan.
Yeah, and of course this has been some of the, I think, the case or the argument that's made by Bitcoin bulls, for example, especially in a high inflation environment. I mean, we can make the argument that inflation's starting to come off a little bit. Do we see a run-up in some of these asset prices for cryptocurrencies through the rest of the year? Or with institutional money coming in, does trading look different? You know,
listen, Bitcoin has two vectors that drive price. One is adoption, like the more and more people that understand it, that like it. The ETF is the single biggest thing that will help adoption, right? Larry Fink coming out and saying, I believe in Bitcoin, which he has, right? And the largest asset manager in the world trying to get engaged. Invesco, our partner, getting engaged. There's a lot of salesmen in those places. So that's going to drive price. The other is Fed policy, right? Bitcoin went from 6,000 to 69,000 because the Fed started taking a fire hose and giving everyone money. Like it was supposed to go up. It was also supposed to come down when Chairman Powell took out his magic hammer and started bashing inflation on the head, right? He has been very hawkish. And so it's this inflection when they go from hawkish to dovish at the same time when the government's not acting responsible in spending. We spend too much money as a government, right? We're at 24% spending, 24% of GDP spending. That number traditionally has been 20.
And obviously that's what the PBOC wants. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some state banks entering the market to sell dollars to help prop up the yuan to definitely stem this decline. Obviously the risks are still skewed towards the weakness, further weakness at the moment. Particularly again, it's not just yuan. Remember, it said it is dollar board strength. So while we mentioned yuan, there is other currencies as well that have really from this. But yes, at the moment, I would call it orderly. Now, of course, the big catch is if it gets near those 2022 lows, how does the market react then? The market likes to test lows. So, and if it goes to those levels, you may see some stops triggered, which would accelerate the decline. So I think that's when the fun, if you want to call it, would really start.
So I think we do have to start there. I mean, 7.4% on a fixed-year 30-year mortgage. We haven't seen that since 2003.
That's true, but that's why 67% of all mortgages in the last quarter were cash. All cash, 67%.
And that's a record high?
Record high.
House Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer reportedly discussing the idea of a months-long funding package to prevent a shutdown at the end of next month. Joining us right now, Jake Sherman. He's the founder of Punchbowl News. He's been keeping his ear and more than that to the ground on all of this. What do you think the chances are that this is the path?
No, I don't think it. Well, let me start with this. I do think, Andrew, between now and the end of the year, the government will shut down. Maybe January, maybe February, if you want to stretch it out a little bit.
That's in 24, though.
What's that?
In 24, you're saying. In early 24, January, February.
It would be 23 or 24. Okay. I mean, we'll have to see how it shakes out.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, And then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, BitChute, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.